Well, it appears that all the talk about the Halo TV show being incredibly successful despite being awful was not true. Variety is now reporting that Paramount Plus has canceled the Halo show after 2 seasons, despite a 3rd season apparently being in the work. They've said, and I quote, "Paramount Plus can confirm that Halo will not move forward with a 3rd season on the service. We are extremely proud of this ambitious series and would like to thank our partners at Xbox, 343, etc., etc." You know this spiel by this point. I gotta say, I'm actually a little surprised, not only because there's been so much talk about how Halo is a seller for Paramount Plus, but also because I get like non-stop ads for this anytime I'm on YouTube Shorts or Facebook. Obviously, you know how the internet works. They know I'm a Halo fan. They're targeting me, but that's part of the problem. The show was brutal. I'm a hardcore Halo fan, and this show was not worth watching. I watched most of the 1st season, probably all of it, got a few episodes into the 2nd, and just noped out. I mean, you know it's bad when after season 1 year, that they're doing a soft reboot of the universe, essentially. And for those who don't remember, I actually sent one of my employees, Zach, down to Brazilian Comic-Con, and that was really what they emphasized. Hey, you don't need to watch the 1st season. We're going to do the Fall of Reach. It's going to be sweet. Guess what? It wasn't. It still stunk. The Variety article continues, however, and says that according to an individual with knowledge of the situation, Xbox, Amblin TV, and 343 Industries will try to shop the series to other outlets. Now, no, to me, it's kind of telling. Like, if you had told me at the height of Halo's powers, or even after Halo 4, that there would be a Halo show so bad that the service would ditch it, like, this wasn't canceled by Microsoft or 343, at least apparently based on what we know now. The network itself decided this show is so bad, you can take it elsewhere, and I think that is pretty representative of just how far Halo as a brand has fallen, and in particular, just how awful this show has been. I talked earlier about how I'm a Halo fan, and the show, you'd think, would have been pinpointed towards me, and part of the problem was they had no belief, clearly, in Halo and its source material. This show was not Halo. We have like a Super Mario Bros. 2 type of situation where aesthetically there are some things that look like Halo, like Master Chief has Master Chief armor. You see the occasional Halo weapon, and yes, there is a ring, but that's just the veneer on top of everything else. And I mean, it can work. I like Super Mario 2, even though, yeah, it's another game with a Mario facade on it. I also wasn't completely turned off the show when they said it wouldn't adhere to the same timeline and strict canon of the games, because I thought that the spirit of Halo, the general story, was good enough that it didn't need to necessarily be bogged down by those adherences if they could still make a good TV show. The problem is, not only did they diverge from the canon, they made the tragic mistake of making something that's not only different, but significantly worse. In my opinion, and I hate to say this, there is almost nothing redeeming about the Halo TV show. I like Pablo Schreiber as an individual. I really love how jacked up about the show he is, and how he clearly cares about Halo as, I don't know, a property, but at least as a TV show. That's great. I'm sure he's a phenomenal guy. He doesn't do it for me as Master Chief. Jen Taylor, who plays Cortana in the games, doesn't do it as Cortana for me here either. But the acting was the strong suit, and I did like Parangowski, and I did also like at least some of what we got with Captain Keyes, the actor in particular, but these people were working with 2 arms tied behind their back because the material they got for this show was absolute dog shit. And while I can at least say, you know, elements of the action were okay, or the actors themselves were good, in my opinion, there is absolutely nothing good or redeeming about the story told by the Halo TV show. Halo is military science fiction. It's grandeur, it's awe, it's a sense of mystery. The Halo rings in Halo 1 through 3 and the Ark as well are some of the most compelling locations in video games because they manage to capture this almost liminal feeling of abandonedness, grandeur, history, and something just barely beyond that you can sense but maybe not quite touch. And that's just a backdrop for a story which on its face is pretty simple. Humanity fighting extinction against the Covenant, but which is special because of a lot of the little things, the design of the characters and the vehicles and the factions, the personality of the few characters we do get, and more importantly, how this, let's be honest, at first slightly generic conflict interacts with the greater world, especially beyond Halo 1. The, quasi-biblical connections of the Flood, the Ark, the almost overwhelming presence of the Forerunners, and really of their departure. The mystery of the past slowly being unveiled, cosmic horrors, human spirit against the genocidal aliens. Like, there's so much here, and yeah, some of it seems generic, but when you put it all together, you come out with something really special. And that's part of the reason, on top of course, excellent gameplay, that we're still talking about Halo CE, Halo 2, Halo 3 after all of these years. Yet the Silver Timeline was canceled after 2 seasons and will be forgotten as a footnote from the most unfortunate and sad era of Halo history. Halo the TV show took all of these things that I described and instead decided that we needed to make a story about Master Chief and his personal trauma. And I mean, that sort of worked in Halo 4. I've got issues with the story, mostly about the Forerunners. The thing about Halo 4, however, is that Master Chief was a compelling character because he had gotten through all of these things in the prior games, and it was time to crack the shell and explore a bit of what was inside. Halo, the TV show, wanted that payoff without putting in any of the work. It wanted to jump past the existential threat, the rings, the truly interesting sci-fi elements which drove the game, or rather which drove the original trilogy, and wanted to get into what 343 had to do with the initial threat seemingly resolved. And it's just not compelling because we don't care about this version of Master Chief. He doesn't seem like the Master Chief of old, and most importantly, the conflict is boring. And instead of it being this grand thing, it becomes, Master Chief in particular is some like teen drama main character. He's got a love interest in the Covenant, his alien GF. Well, she's human, because that's a whole thing as well. It's just so bad. And I understand that there are some fans who like it, and I think you're wrong, but I'm happy you enjoyed it. I've always said that. I've got my opinion. It's a very strong opinion in terms of this show. I think that Halo may have only had one shot at moving to live action beyond, the limited things like we got with the pre-Halo 4 releases and that other short miniseries. But this was the big chance on a big stage with a big audience, and it stunk. And it may have killed Halo moving to that new medium forever, and that's just being realistic. Again, that's how I feel. If you liked it, I completely disagree, but I'm glad for you. I don't think you're stupid or anything. I do think we probably have wildly divergent tastes, and that's okay. And I've also heard from a lot of people who aren't as familiar with Halo as a video game that they liked the show, and that's also good. But I will say, for me, as someone who was obsessed with Halo, it's right up there with Star Wars for me, hence the Star Wars, Halo, and more in the channel title. This had the cardinal sin of being so bad that I just didn't even care anymore. I couldn't bother to watch an episode about the fall of Reach because the show was that much of a black hole of anything interesting that Halo had going with it. And I hope that if they do try again, if Microsoft does try to shop the series or shop the property as a whole, that they look at shows like The Last of Us, like Fallout, and that they realize that people who love a video game aren't stupid. They're not cultural weirdos. There's a reason why Halo's story was so popular, and to assume that this popularity wouldn't translate to live action, at least of the story. Obviously, there are elements of the gameplay that you can't bring to TV. It's just a different medium. But to assume that the story wouldn't translate to a wider audience basically assumes that the fans are stupid. And it's just a shame because I think of the great moments of Halo. I think of Master Chief giving the Covenant back their bomb. I think of him on the forward onto Dawn as the Ark explodes. I just think about how cool it would have been to have new people exposed to those moments, especially as the games get older, which is a big turnoff for a lot of people. Anyway, I do have my idea for how I would do a Halo series in a way that keeps the spirit of the games alive while also not being a strict retread. If that's something you guys are interested in, maybe I'll talk about it in the future. But I gotta get this edited quick because I'm very busy tonight. I want this out because I'm happy this thing is dead, and I very rarely say that about shows. I'm happy this is dead. I hope Halo gets another shot. I fear it will not. Goodbye.